So welcome to the executive coach training. As you know that this training is comprised of three parts and we'll do it in three sessions. So today is the first session. So this training is in the background of the two sessions I conducted last few weeks about preparing for the new world. And those two sessions I think most of you have attended. But the background is that because of the current crisis, everybody is impacted, everybody is affected. And we are still pretty much in the crisis. There are signs of recovery. There are some improvements being noticed, but it's still a long way have to go. But most importantly, hopefully, we'll take care of the healthcare part. But the economic damage which has been done is going to last long. And that is basically the main focus of these sessions and this training also, that how could we prepare better for these difficult times coming ahead. So more of grim news is keep coming, and it will keep coming for a while. I'm not sure about rest of the world, but in USA, in the last 6 weeks, 30 million people have lost their jobs. 30 million. That's a big number. That's close to 20% of the total workforce. And just for the reference, during the last crisis, which was the global financial crisis in 2008, 9, and 10, in USA, about 9 million people lost a job. And that took about 3 years. 30 million has taken place in 6 weeks only. And it took the economy almost 10 years to build those jobs, 22 million, which have been lost. More than 22 million jobs have been lost in just 6 weeks. So this is just an indication of the gravity of the situation we should be ready and prepared to face. As I said, I don't know about the number for the rest of the world, but I'm sure there are also similar, or at least some jobs are being lost or will be lost, because we are still in sort of social distancing, staying home. But once the situation gets normal, there is expectation that businesses would try to reconfigure, reformat their business models, and more may come like this. So I showed this chart in some of the previous sessions. And this basically shows a long period of time, about 165 years, how the industries have changed over a period of time. And you can see some big trends here, like agriculture has significantly changed. Some service sectors have increased. More prominently, you can see that financial services, education, healthcare have expanded. So there are some visible signs that definitely some industry like healthcare is going to expand significantly. But what will happen to the overall economic situation, it's very unclear. The only thing I could tell you, and I think you would agree with some confidence, that in the next 2 years, maybe 5 years, this chart would look very different than in the last 100 years. Because it's not a matter of jobs only, that we are going to lose jobs or which jobs would be survived. It's a matter for the industries. Which industries are going to survive? Which industries are going to collapse? And it's very unclear, but lot of things going to happen. So we just need to prepare for that sort of gravity of this economic situation ahead of us. This chart we have also referred few times in the last 2 years. This was the Future of Job reports issued by World Economic Forum in 2018. And look at the numbers, and the numbers I have just shown you. So this was showing a decline of the jobs, 75 million, and growth of the new jobs, 133 million. And we were expecting that this will happen in 5 years at that time, 5-6 years. And what has happened in just 6 weeks is unimaginable. So one thing is very clear, that in the formal employment, because most of us are in the formal employment, there would not be as many jobs as we have today or yesterday. Formal jobs would be available only to a few select. So it's going to be highly competitive. You really need to compete to get those jobs, and not everyone would succeed. And that is why the topic of today's discussion is what are the other alternative careers, alternative choices available to professionals like us. So this discussion is very much confined to corporate professionals. And I think most of you are from the finance and accounting functions, but this discussion also applicable to other functions. So it's not strictly limited to finance people, any corporate professional, but mainly the corporate professionals. So welcome to the gig economy. I mean, again, we have been talking about this rise of gig economy for a while, for the last few years. But I think going forward, this is going to be a significant dominant factor to determine the job situation, the employment situation, and the economy situation. Again, I have some numbers to share from the US economy. So far, this discussion of the gig economy was related to the digital transformation because that was coming very fast, was still coming very fast. But I think the whole discussion has been dominated now by this current crisis. And one of the consequence of this crisis is expected to be in a faster process of digitalization. Because as soon as the businesses are back, their first prime focus is cost reduction. And for the cost reduction, the biggest opportunity, the low hanging opportunity for them is the digitalization of their business processes. So that would even happen faster, but that would also result in loss of jobs because primarily digitalization would reduce the requirement of manpower in certain categories. So that's one thing, but it's going to speed up because businesses are going to reconfigure, reset their business models. So, for example, there are many, many questions which we don't have answers. If social distancing is continued to be a norm, how would the restaurant survive? A lot of other industries. Because if they reduce their capacity from 100 to 25 or 30, they are not going to survive economically. In the short term, they could do it for a few weeks, maybe a few months, but in the long term, it's not sustainable. So a lot of things has to change. But let's understand how this structure would take place for a better preparation of the new economy which is coming our way. So in this chart, you see different layers of people involved in a business. So in the center is a business unit or business entity. And the first layer you see is the green icons. Green icons, if you look at the glossary on the left side, these are the core on-site employees, like they have today or yesterday. These are the full-time permanent employees, but they are going to be much less in number. The next layer next to it in the pink circle or pink icons, you see, these are the remote employees. Now, this is also going to be a trend going forward because now we have experienced it. The option was available for a long period of time, but there was a reluctance of adoption by people as well as the businesses. Now this adoption has been forced on us. In the last 2 months, a lot of people have experienced with positive sentiments. So this is going to be a norm and it's an opportunity for the business. It would reduce the cost on the personal side as well as on the business side. Businesses don't have to invest so much in the commercial real estate for people to sit. People will save money by not doing the commute or managing their own personal time. So that would be a very dominant and viable option. Next to those pink icons or circles, you see some yellow circles. These are the freelance workers. These are the workers who are not employees, but they may do some work for the businesses on a freelance basis. And that's also going to grow significantly. It's already there, by the way. If you are familiar with the websites like upwork.com or freelance.com, you will see there are thousands and thousands of freelance people are sitting there from every profession, from every field. I also found some accountant and finance people doing some work over there. And that is only growing. But that's no more for the small businesses only, even the medium-sized businesses and some large businesses also using that. So that would be a very significant layer going forward. And then next to it, you see some brown circles. These are the conventional, traditional consultants. So from a business point of view, rather than hiring experts for full time, if there is a possibility that they would not be required full time, businesses would rather prefer to involve consultants in those areas rather than full time employees. So consulting is going to grow, and then a lot of other resources like vendors and agencies and all type of contractors would be available. So there are two factors out of this analysis. Number one, not as many people are required to run the business as it used to be because of the technology, because of some other reasons. And even the reduced number of people required, they would not be full-time employees. They would be in different categories, as I just explained to you. That looks very visible, very clear. There is no doubt in it. And on top of it, if you're looking at a formal employment, there are limitations besides beyond this. And we all know that the average tenure is reducing. Average tenure for senior corporate professionals is plus minus 3 years, no matter what, upsize, downsize, wrong size, right size, whatever you call it. On the average, people have to change their jobs willingly or unwillingly every 3 years. And this is for young professionals. If you get older, you reach close to 50, then even it becomes rather more difficult to keep your job or survive your job. Although official retirement could be late or there may be no retirement age or limit at all, but practical point of view, you could understand that after 50 it becomes difficult. So there is really not much to celebrate for the younger employees like you who are in 30s and 40s, because time is flying and you find yourself somewhere around plus minus 50, and then it would become very difficult. So it's not something to be taken care at that time. It's something to be taken care now. You need to plan your long-term career now. Job disruption is not only job disruption, but it's also going to move into career disruption, because it's not a matter of jobs only, that if you lose jobs and it would take some time to get back your job, many people would not be able to get back to their careers because there would not be as many openings as it used to be. So it's going to be a big disruption and it would last for a while.